I have no idea when this video will come out or even if it will at all, but also, yeah, I can confirm this video did come out way later than when I wrote it. I started this game with the intention of making a video playthrough series on it, which ended up not working out in the end. But honestly, this game was better off being played and enjoyed on my own time and not being pressured to make a video out of it frequently, especially with how huge it kept becoming. I kept wanting to go out and do things and discover things that wouldn't have made for a good video. So in the end, I just ended up scrapping that idea and pretty much dropping the game. Now, the intent was to basically take my time and properly explore things, catalog my findings, describe how the game was to play. I thought it out, but in reality, I just ended up getting overwhelmed by everything and not really doing anything with it. The last thing I was able to do from memory was the Gerudo Desert boss, which I didn't even complete because I just didn't come in with the right equipment, just trying to rush through it. Now, I still want to speak about this game, so I think this is a better way of handling that in more concise ways instead of like doing 7-hour or 12-hour videos. But to talk about the game now and start off the bat with something, the land itself was just overwhelming with the amount of changes it underwent, and I know things are going to change over time, but this was so unprecedented that every area I used to know is filled with objects and people now. It's just completely different. It feels different. It feels weird, but good and exciting at the same time that I have new things to discover. It does feel like a big package, and it's valued as such. I am still not over Nintendo games going up in price. Now, they haven't done it with pretty much anything else, so luckily they seem to be holding off. I can guarantee that as soon as they find a way to excuse the fact that they can increase the price, they probably will. That's the same thing they did with Nintendo Switch Online, and that is still going. They have not dropped that, and I'm pretty sure they never will now. And there has not been any improvements to that either. And anyway, video for another day. Going back to how gigantic this feels, I don't really think I can describe it with words. You do get a sense of it in the trailers, but I don't think anything can prepare you for this. With the first game, to me, it felt like it was easy to pick up and learn, but hard to master. It gave you this big land to explore, and it even showed you the vast corners you could go, but it still felt more concise. I never really felt as overwhelmed as I did with every single choice I have now. You could just take it as you pleased, and whatever area you went to, it was pretty much easy to deal with. The exception being the castle, of course, because that was the point. But here, every single area I go to just somehow expands into more subsections and just gets more insane. I especially feel this with weapon crafting. Now, in the first game, there wasn't really any crafting per se, just more so that you had to deal with a weapon breaking mechanic, which you still kind of do here, but you can pretty much use any single element and fuse them together. That's the whole mechanic here. This is the secret sauce of this game. You can pretty much fuse anything to any weapon and make it a makeshift weapon, pretty much, which is cool, but the amount of stuff you can collect and then you scroll through trying to fuse together in a whim, it's just a little too much for me, if you get what I'm trying to say. To give you an idea, I have to make sure that I get all the necessary materials to build certain weapons. I need to also make sure that my batteries are charged and upgraded to make sure I can use the Zonai stuff. Oh, and vehicles. A 3-layered world with multiple side quests to do and just completely different terrain, enemies, and so much more. And yeah, I think you get it. This is why I really haven't gone back to pick it up again. Every time I do get the want and the feeling to try to go back, I just think of all these things that I had trouble with alongside with the story, because the story is also way bigger here. And I just go back to being overwhelmed. Now, it's not as bad as a Ubisoft game where I just see the list of checkpoints that I have to go through to make sure I complete just a fragment of the story. And, you know, I never completed Far Cry because of that. Now, the value proposition is amazing because you get all this stuff for pretty much what it's worth. You get your money's worth here. But the only area where I felt some connection to how I felt in Breath of the Wild was really the starting area. It has this luscious, gorgeous yellow hue, and everything is laid out. It's still bigger than the Great Plateau, I feel like. It's consumable. I can do things at my own leisure and I still feel like I'm getting things done. Now, it does have secret areas and secret bosses to do, but I don't know. This is like the one area where I felt, yes, okay, this is like Breath of the Wild. I can digest this. I can keep going. I just love all the things you can do there. And, you know, to give the world more credit too, well, speaking of the world, I quite like that the NPCs are living in it now and I can interact with them. I can actually recruit them because I did see that in a video, and that the world has changed because of the story events that happened. There's new things to explore. There's new bosses, Zonai and Ganon wise. It was so cool and frankly super unique and smartly designed, especially when it comes to the dungeon bosses, because there's also dungeons now. That first one I managed to actually beat was so creative, and every time I would land a hit, I felt smart. I felt like I was being rewarded for playing good, and it was a marvel to look at. I was just so impressed with how many ideas they were putting on the table. Still am, really, just recounting it back to you guys. That trailer too, man. I never got to gush about it, but God, the godly, well-edited trailers that Nintendo manages to put out. But that Tears of the Kingdom trailer that released, that had the saxophone going up in the background, had its Nintendo 2017 presentation moment, and just the way they show the new mechanics at play, the playground you get to roam in, the enemies, the weapons, tools, everything just comes together to make one of the most hype-ass trailers Nintendo's ever made. But that's just it though. There's so much going on in this game that, again, I felt overwhelmed and burnt out. It didn't help that I also had to edit a 7+ hour video on top of it. And for me, at least right now, I just feel like this is just too much. In fact, this is the same kind of feeling I have when I try to pick up Minecraft there and again. The fact that I can do so many different things that I just don't know what to do in the end. I get overwhelmed with the choices I can make. And you know, that's also one of the most frustrating parts to me, is the fact that I see the many different things you can do. So many people having fun, making different inventions, discovering so many different things that the game is still hiding from me and many other people, but I just can't do it. I can't do it, and it frustrates me. I haven't touched this game in a year or two at this point. I don't know. Maybe I am approaching this game in the wrong way, of course, or maybe something of the sort. That doesn't mean I'm giving up on it though. Now that I'm not burdened with making playthrough videos on a crunch, I'll go try it again, and at my own pace, and see how it goes. I'll continue the game either on my own or make videos as I go, like these, or on Twitch. I still haven't decided yet, but yeah, pretty much got everything out of my system. Let's see how it goes.